Hey everybody, welcome to the GMG review. Today we are back with Warhammer Age of Sigmar Destruction Battletome, the Sons of Behemat. Behemat? I'm gonna say Behemat because it's like, I don't know what it's like. It just feels like the right way to pronounce it. So this is the latest Battletome for Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and kind of a special Battletome. It is a destruction Battletome, but this is actually a Battletome available to every single army in the game. And the reason for that is the Sons of Behemat, who was like the world titan, are marching to war. They're roused and angry and a little more, I guess, like belligerent than usual. And this wonderful 80-page pitch battle profile, like containing standalone army playing Battletome, will let you buy these cool new Mega-Gargants, mix them with the current Gargant kit, which is now a Man-Crusher Gargant if they're part of these tribes, and play this either as a standalone army or one of 3 different mercenary profiles that can join any destruction army, and each of the other Grand Alliances gets one that will join them. So Order can have the Kraken Eater Mega-Gargant, Chaos can get the Warstopper Mega-Gargant, and Death can get the Gatebreaker Mega-Gargant. So everyone kind of has their own themed Gargant they can take. And so let's jump in right now and take a look at it. So there are basically 2 ancient sort of Mega Titan gods, some sort of Gargants that were followed around by these tribes. And all of them owed fealty to Gorka Morka. They followed him around and thought he was the coolest. But in the Age of Myth, Imnog, who is the original one, of which Behemat is his son, followed Gorka Morka around, and eventually they had a violent demise because you can't have 2 big destruction god creatures basically follow each other around without them getting in a fight eventually. And so Gorka Morka destroyed him. And then Behemat actually got into a fight with Sigmar, and ended up getting knocked out, Friday style. And that's led to the other tribes basically that follow Behemat around going to war. And the bigger and badder Mega-Gargants leading the other Gargants, the Man-Crusher Gargants, into conflicts with other species. So here it is. The Rise of the World Titan. He spawned 1,000 young since the death of Imnog, and having matched Gorka Morka deed for deed thus far, Behemat thought himself unstoppable. It was the God King Sigmar and his own warriors that put the lie to this claim. So he basically decided he was going to challenge Sigmar, and Sigmar knocked him out, and he's sleeping it off right now. He's not dead, but he's definitely sleeping it off. And so this book is going to give you about 20 pages or so of background for the Gargants themselves and sort of like their place in the mortal realms, how they've taken part in the different wars, the Great War Against Chaos, the Age of Myth, and then some bits and pieces about where in Gur they're currently stomping around. The Heartlands of Gur, of course, always being at war with themselves, tend to contain a lot of Gargants, and those Gargants march around doing terrible things, crushing walls or fighting wars or eating fish, I guess, if they're the Kraken Eater ones. And then how they fight, some of their historical sort of like great deeds. It's always a great read, this stuff. And the example of a war tribe. So this is the Rondel Stomp. Big Heel is the big Kraken Eater Gargant that leads this certain troop. And then you've got a Warstopper Gargant and a a Gate Crusher one, and then all these are the regular Gargants that just kind of follow them around, these 6 other Gargants. This is an example of like what a war tribe might look like. So not actually a lot of dudes. Like you can make a 2,000 point army that's 6 models, and I think my 2,000 point like Age of Sigmar army for this is going to be about 6 models, battle lines and dudes, and then some examples of the Mercenaries, all the name character Mercenaries, and then just a profile on each of the different Mega-Gargant types, the Warstompers and the Gatebreakers. And so enough of that, Ash, let's jump into some rules. Well, let's look at a beautiful color section first. So the classic Warhammer Giant now as a Man-Crusher Gargant. The other Gargants following them around, fighting some Idnith. Beautiful color profiles of each of the different types. This is the one I'm building. The Gatebreaker. Sorry, Gatebreaker, that's right, not Gatecrusher. And then the Man-Crushers. Example of an army. So you got 3 Mega-Gargants and a lot of little Gargants. That's probably, because that's about 1,500 points. That's another 500 points, and then these are about 200 points each. This is almost 3,000 points right here. Just this like 9 models. And then painting them. So some examples of doing it the contrast way and the old way. as we get, and then jumping into Gargant armies. All right, so allegiance abilities. Let's dive right into it, because this is not a super long battle tome. This isn't going to be a super long review either, which means I can kind of go through everything. So your allegiance abilities, you got all these battle traits. So there's the Taker, Stomper, and Breaker tribes. So on top of all the normal stuff, you have to pick who your general is, and that's going to tell you who your tribe is. And you have different battle traits for your army depending upon who your general is going to be. So before you start, like, you actually have to kind of declare your general right away, because your army is going to be built up around that. It's going to determine everything else afterwards. Then you get your battle plans, your background tables, your rules for mercenaries, your war scrolls, and your pitch battles. So jumping into allegiance abilities, if you are a just Sons of Behemat army, you're going to get all of these, and then the following ones are going to come on afterwards. So first, it's Mightier makes Rightier. When determining who controls an objective, each Man-Crusher Gargant's worth 10 models, and each Mega-Gargant's worth 20 instead of 1, so that's pretty cool. And you get a designer's notes. If the battle plan being played does not follow the normal rules for controlling objectives, you can pick whether to use this battle trait or the rules from the battle plan. So you get to go back and forth. Whichever one basically benefits you the most, you can choose when you're determining how to control the objectives. Then chuck rocks. In your shooting phase, you can pick a friendly Man-Crusher Gargant unit that's wholly within 18 your general, and each model in the unit can then chuck rocks. He just orders them to throw rocks, basically. And that's actually the reason to have a larger unit. And there's a cool rule at the end when you see the battle plan or the pitch battle profiles. It encourages you to take a unit of 3 Man-Crusher Gargants, because then you're going to get 3d3, strength 4, 18-inch range, 4s and 3s, minus 1d3 damage attacks. And that's a no-joke shooting attack, but he only gets to do it to 1 unit. So if you're taking individual units of 1 giant, one of them gets to throw it. Whether you have a unit of 3, all 3 of them are going to get to benefit from that ability. And then Lord and Master. The general of the Sons of Behemat army must be one of the following types of Mega-Gargant. Depending upon the type of Mega-Gargant you choose, you get the extra abilities. So Kraken Eater gets the Taker tribe, Warstopper gets the Stomper tribe, and the Gatebreaker gets the Breaker tribe. So we're going to jump in with the Kraken Eater and his Taker tribe. So he gets additional battle traits. Get rid of them when using the Mightier makes Rightier rule. You count as 15 for a Man-Crusher Gargant and 30 for a Giant Breaker, or sorry, Mega-Gargant. So yeah, all of a sudden you really control objectives. And then more stuff from a collection. Each time an enemy model with an artifact of power is slain, you can roll for a triumph on the triumph table. You can use that triumph during the current battle, and even if you've already used it, like the same one, and if you do not use it during the current battle, it's lost. So cool, you just get triumphs, which can be super handy. And then your command traits, irascible old bullies, and there's 3 command traits here that pretty much everybody has, I'm pretty sure, and that's the first 3. Yeah, so the first 3, monstrously tough, you have 40 wounds instead of 35. Old and gnarly, reroll save rolls of 1, and louder than words, add 1 to your attack characteristic for your Shipwrecker War Club. Those 3 are pretty much copy-pasted for all of the different Mega-Gargants. And then you got strong right foot. When you use the general's Garroth Maland ability to kick an objective marker away, you can roll 3d6 instead of 2d6, determining how far it's kicked. Yeah, because you can kick an objective marker. You can literally move objectives. Very acquisitive. You can take an extra trophies taken by force artifact of power for your general, and this general can have 2 instead of 1, so you can actually carry 2 artifacts of power, so you get to choose 2 of these. That one's going to be popular. And then extremely intimidating, -1 to hit rolls from any models that are within 3 of the general. So he's just scary and gross. And then your artifacts of power for the Kraken Eaters. Jaws of the Megalodon. Once per phase, you can reroll 1 hit roll or 1 rune roll for attack made by the bearer, or 1 save roll for attacks that target the bearer. That's per phase. So you can do the shooting phase and the close combat phase. You can't use this ability to reroll more than 1 dice from the bearer in the same phase. So you get to choose 1 thing to reroll each phase, basically. Wallop and Tentacles. At the start of the combat phase, you can pick an enemy hero within 3 of the bearer and roll a die. On a 4+, the hero takes a mortal wound, and you can reroll hit rolls of 1 to attack to target that hero until the end of the phase. So it's a 3-inch mortal wound attack, and it basically unlocks all attack against that one character. The Jar of Bernie Grog. Some of these are amazing. Once per battle, at the start of the combat phase, you can pick 1 enemy unit within 3 of the bearer and roll a dice. On a 2+, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, and until the end of that phase, you can roll wound rolls for attacks made by friendly Gargants that target that unit, and on a 1, the bearer drops it and takes D3 mortal wounds. Now to the Beast Reaver. At the start of the combat phase, you can pick an enemy monster within 3 and roll a dice. On a 4+, until the end of the phase, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by that monster, and you can add 1 to hit rolls for attacks that target that monster. That one's pretty cool, actually. So you like net down a monster, basically, and it's harder for it to hit you. Situational again, but if you know the army you're going against, like Ogres would hate that if they're all taking, Thunder Tusks and stuff. Now this one's going to be popular, and this is almost a reason to take 2 on its own. Glowy Lantern. The bear can cast a spell in your hero phase and unbind a spell in your hero phase in the enemy hero phase in the same manner as a wizard. And you know, Arcane Bolt and Mystic Shield. So that one's, I feel like, because you don't have a wizard otherwise in a 2,000 point list for this army. That one's like almost automatic. Yeah, that one's going to be super, 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 super useful. And then taking the Very Acquisitive means you could give that to somebody else if you want to. Or give it to your general. And then Kraken Skin Sandals. The Bearer's Almighty Stomp has an attack characteristic of 3 instead of 2, a rend characteristic of 3 instead of 2, and a damage characteristic of 3 instead of D3. That one's pretty great too. I don't know though. I feel like the rerolls, the Jaws of the Megalodon and the Glowy Lantern, and then take Very Acquisitive. That's a great general for this list. Stomper Tribes, battle traits, Bawling, Bellowing Lunks. And to be fair, I'm pretty sure you can always take these artifacts of power, right? Because that's a Kraken Eater Mega-Gargant. So he's a character, so even if he's not your general, you could give him the Glowy Lantern as your artifact of power. But the only way you're getting 2 in the army is if you're taking Very Acquisitive, if he's your general. So Stomper Tribes, and again, these are the ones that Chaos has access to. This is the one Order has access to, is the Kraken Eater. So Chaos has access to this one, although of course it's a mercenary ally, you're not going to get any of this stuff. Battle traits, Bawling, Bellowing Lunks. Getting stuck in, add 1 of the damage inflicted by successful attacks made by friendly Maw Crusher Gargants against units of 10 or more. Add 2 instead of 1 if it's 20 or more. So if you go wade into a unit of 20 goblins, you're getting +2 damage for all your Mega-Gargants. So like, if you're using the Warstomper, I think his club is damage 2. It's damage 4 all of a sudden with maybe 10 attacks against a 20-man unit. Like 40 wounds, 40 damage all of a sudden, just like slamming into something. Big Shouts, if your army is a Stomper Tribe, your general must use the following Big Shout command ability. So this is actually, I think if you're taking this as an army, the Stomper might be he's probably the ideal general, because you're going to get all 6 of these command traits, or command abilities, sorry, that your leader can use, and they all affect almost everybody. So get a move on, you slackers. You can use command ability at the start of your movement phase. If you do so until the end of that phase, if you make a run roll for a Man Crusher Gargant that's within 18 your general, it's always a 6 that you roll. So imagine that. So like now, most armies you use 1 CP to set a single roll to a 6. In this one, all your Man Crushers just go an extra 6. Grab those rocks and chuck them at something. And use command ability at the start of your shooting phase. If you do so, you can pick. You can use the Chuck Rocks battle trait. You can pick all friendly Man Crusher Gargants within 18 of your general to make Chuck Rocks shooting attacks instead of only 1. So you can spend 1 CP, and now every Man Crusher unit throws rocks. You charge. You can use this command ability at the start of your charge phase. If you do so until the end of that phase, you can reroll charge rolls for friendly Man Crusher Gargant units within 18 of the general. Stop mucking about and hit them. Use this command ability at the start of your combat phase. If you do so until the end of the phase, you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks made by friendly Man Crusher Gargant units within 18 of your general. So it's an all-out attack for every unit of Man Crushers. Watch your back to your Grandma's Lot. It's basically the same thing except for all-out defense. So it's reroll saves of 1 for every Man Crusher Gargant unit within 18. And where do you think you're going? You can use command ability at the start of your Battle Shock phase. If you do so, don't take any Battle Shock tests for Man Crusher Gargants within 18 of them. So that's pretty powerful. And a single CP affecting all those Man Crushers. You're probably really tempted to take lots of Mega-Gargants, but it's a reason to maybe take 2 instead of 3 and then have multiple units of those Man Crusher Gargants like stomped around the table. Command traits, Veterans of the One-Sided Battle. Again, first three are all the same, so +1 to his Boulder Club attacks, reroll save rolls of 1, and 40 wounds instead of 35. And then Inescapable Grip. When you use General's Hurled Body ability, you can reroll the dice roll to determine how if the target's slain and thrown. Very shouty, D3 bonus command points in the first battle round. That's really cool considering all of this stuff. And then Eager for a Fight, you can attempt to charge with this general's within 18 instead of 12, and you roll 3d6 instead of 2d6 when making a charge roll. That one's huge, potentially, for getting into charges. Now, he only gets 3 artifacts of power, as does the Gatecrasher one. The Ironweld Cestus, this one's neat. Reroll save rolls from attacks target the bearer, so roll all your 4+ saves. And if a unmodified 6 is made, for the attack, with a melee weapon, the attacking unit suffers a mortal wound. So you have the bounce back that an Iron Fist has, which is kind of cool on an ogre. Club of the First Oak, in your hero phase, heal a wound. Yeah, that's pretty cool. In addition, if the bear is slain, roll a die before it's removed, and on 4+, the wound or mortal wound is negated, and any remaining wounds that haven't been that are allocated to this bear are negated. And that's all the time. If the bear is slain, not the first time he's slain. If the bear is slain, he has a 4+ save against death, and all the other damage is negated. He can take an infinite amount of damage, and on a 4+, he just stays alive. So if you can just keep rolling 4+ for the Club of the First Orc, you just never die. What? And this is like the one Gargant who almost always stays at top line when he's diving into a monster or big unit, because his club attack is based on the number of models within 3. So if he's got 1 wound left, he probably still has 10 attacks if he's fighting a unit, or +5 attacks if he's fighting a monster. So like, he doesn't really degrade. If he gets outnumbered and all of a sudden like taken down, he's still fighting almost a top bracket with a single wound left. It's Club of the First Orc is like just mandatory. And I think if you're playing this army, you're probably playing him as a leader. Mantle of the Destroyer, friendly Gargant units have a bravery characteristic of 10 if they're within 12 of the bear. In addition, you can reroll charge rolls for friendly Gargants that are within 12 of the bear. I mean, both of those are cool, but like built-in healing and 4+ don't die. Yeah, it's Club of the First Orc every time. Every single time. That's like zero choice there. Unless it gets FAQ'd, the unlimited 4+ chance of just never dying seems like a real good deal for a free ability. Breaker Tribes, you get the battle traits, Hate-Fueled Wreckers. And this is the one I'm going to build. I like the Breaker. So he gets breaking down the houses. And this is, I'm mostly taking this because it's a huge FU to Owen's Loon Shrine. Add 1 of the damage inflicted by each successful attack made by a friendly Man-Crusher Gargant unit that's targets a unit wholly within a terrain feature or part of a garrison. In addition, at the end of a combat phase, you can pick a terrain feature within 3 of a friendly Man-Crusher Gargant unit and roll a die. On a 7+, the terrain is, and add the number of models in the unit. On a 7+, the terrain feature is destroyed and reduced to rubble, and all of its keywords are changed to scenery, rubble, and deadly. Take that, Loon Shrine. Fierce Loathing. When you pick a Breaker Tribe army, you can choose or roll from a Fierce Loathing. The ability applies to friendly Gatebreaker or Mega-Gargants and friendly Man-Crusher Gargant units, so not the other types of Gargant in the army. Bossy Pants and Clever Clogs add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by units with this ability that target a hero or wizard. I'm pretty sure Bossy Pants and Clever Clogs is like it might be a Peppa Pig reference. Anyway, I've heard them say that a lot in Peppa Pig. Idiots with Flags add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by this unit that target a totem or a unit with any command models. Shiny Ones add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by a unit by units with this ability that target a unit with a save characteristic of 1+, 2+, 3+, or 4+. That's not a hero or monster. Crowds add 1 to hit rolls for attacks that target units with 20 or more models. Wannabes add a hit roll for attacks that made by this model with this ability that target war machines or monsters. And Piggybacks add 1 to hit rolls for units made by this ability that target a unit with a mount that's not a monster. So anybody who's like a cavalry model, basically. So basically, pick who you're going to hit a +1. Command traits has the same first 3 as everybody else, and then Louder Than Words, Extremely Bitter. You can choose to roll or choose 2 abilities from this instead of 1. If you regenerate the same one, roll again to get a different one. Smasher, you can use this general smash down ability. You can re-roll the dice to see if it's turned to rubble. So his like ability to like break terrain, the actual Gargants. And then Seize Red, while this general is within 9 of a terrain feature that has a garrison, when you look up the value of its damage table, it's always as if it's suffered 0 wounds. And then you've got 3 different Legacy of Demolition artifacts of power. The Enchanted Portcullis, roll a dice for each time you allocate a wound or mortal wound to the bear. On a 6+, you ignore it, so a 6+ wound shrug. The Great Rekka. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with bear's 4 crusher flail is a 6, it does a mortal wound in addition to normal damage. In addition, if you use the smash down ability, add 1 to the dice roll to determine if you reduce it to rubble. And then King Slaughterer Cowl, you can reroll wound rolls of 1 for attacks made by a bear that target a hero. In addition, you can reroll wound rolls for attacks that target a bear, by the bear that target a general. So any generals, which just reroll wounds against him. So, I mean, cool abilities for everybody. Club of the First Oak wins. Like, it just wins. It's immortality and a wound back every hero phase. You get a battle plan for fighting Gargants. Yay. You get all your cool Taker Tribe background table stuff. So like, what are you gonna be? Where's my dice at? My first name, so I'm gonna name my Gargant right now. Mine's a Gatecrasher. So his first name is, oh Jesus, I'm dropping things under the table. First name's gonna be for Sogdur, Creek Prowl? Or no, wait. Is this the right table? Is there a different table for every type? No. It could be Moto the Thinker. Odd Vigo the Wrinkled. No, this one's definitely the Whale Gobbler. No, this is all like mixed together. There's not like one for each different one. I like all of these though. Why didn't they just do a bigger table if it was 18 different ones? Let's try it again. 3. Gargalo. 3. Sea Crawler. Nodge. Sea Swill. Silly. And then Quirk. 4. He's a Whale Slayer. This mighty warrior busies himself only with large, impressive kills. He makes a beeline for the war beasts and bound monsters of the enemy, hoping to add another notable death to his tally. My next one. 3. He's a shanty singer. The Gargant sings bawdy sea shanties he learned from captured sailors, off-key and at ear-splitting volume. Sometimes he even does the actions. It's not very pleasant. I don't know why it's in there, but I love it. Oh, that was the whale. This is the Taker Tribe one. There's the Stomper Tribe one. Let's do the Breaker Tribe one, because I want to do the Breakers. I'll use this table. 5. Fodrog. 2. The Rubble Maker. I don't like that one. Let's do this one. 6. Ugar. 2. The Bell Cracker. That's kind of cool. And then what's his quirk? 4. Spire Toppler. The Gargant thinks the tall, thin buildings are particularly offensive, and he must cast them down, if not by a well-hurled chunk of rubble, then hack down with like a lumberjack fells a tree. Neat. And so we're on a Mega-Gargant Mercenary. So now, if you want to include a Mega-Gargant in an army that is not this army in particular, you have to use one of the 3 mercenary profiles. So you don't have to actually use the names. There's a designer note that you can just invent your own names and have a reason for them having the rules they have. But basically, this is just like taking a mercenary company or like a Go Trick. You basically can take one Mega-Gargant mercenary instead of taking allies from a different Grand Alliance or a different mercenary company. If you do so, you don't get a CP in the first turn because he's disruptive. And you have to choose one of these 3 based on your Grand Allegiance. So Destruction can take any of the 3, but if you are Order, you can take Bundo Whalebiter. He's a Kraken Eater mercenary, and he's dead cunning for a Gargant. At the start of the combat phase, you can see he'll be uncannily cunning. If you do so, the model fights at the end of the phase, but you can reroll hit rolls for attacks made by the model. So he can basically just soak a bunch of damage, but then reroll all of his hits. One-Eyed Grunnock, the Warstopper mercenary. He can be hired by Chaos or Destruction armies. And he shakes the earth. You can reroll hit rolls of 1 for jump up and down attacks. In addition, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by this enemy unit if they're within 6 of this model and they did a jump up and down, because he shakes the whole earth. And then Big Drog Fort Kika. He's the one that can be in Death or Destruction armies. And he's got Grievous Halitosis. At the end of the combat phase, you can pick an enemy unit within 3 of this model and roll a number of dice equal to the number of models in the unit that are within 3. For each 6, that unit suffers a mortal wound. So he just breathes on them and they die. And then we're into Warscrolls. All right, so you can look at these yourself probably in Azer or in the Warscroll app right now, the AOS app. And they've mostly been spoiled on the Age of Sigmar and the community page, so I'm not gonna super go through them, but all the Gargants have certain things that are the same, and that is 35 wounds, a 4+ save, and Bravery 7. Now Bravery kind of seems, it's not low, but like it's low-ish, because there are certain spells and stuff that target Bravery, or abilities and stuff, and it's worth noting they don't have like an impervious level leadership, even though they're ginormous. The Mega-Gargant, the Kraken Eater has a range attack. He's got the Hurl Debris. When he's healthy, it's got 24-inch range, and that's 3 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 d3 damage. So he basically hurls rocks, just like the whatchamacallits, the Man Crushers can, or the Man Crushers? Man Eaters? The other ones. The little guys. Then he's got his Almighty Stomp, 2-inch range, 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2 d3 damage. A Death Grip, which is just like pop a guy with his hand attack. 3-inch range, 1 attack, 3s and 2s, -3 d6 damage. And then his Shipwrecker War Club. It's got 8 attacks when he's healthy, and then it goes 7, 7, 6, 5 as he goes down to more and more wounds. But he doesn't actually bracket until he hits a third of his wounds, so 12 wounds. If he goes to 13 wounds, he goes down to 7. And then it's not until he goes to 25 wounds that he goes down to 6. So he stays pretty healthy pretty long. And it's 3s and 3s minus 2, 2 damage. Then finally his movement starts at 11 and goes to 7 as he gets less and less healthy, but he's relatively quick the whole time. Almighty Stomp, you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for Almighty Stomp attacks unless they target a monster, because he's jumping up and down. Crushing Charge, after this model's made a charge move, roll a dice for each enemy within 1. On a 2+ to take D3 mortal wounds if it's a monster, or D6 if it's not a monster. So every unit within 1 at the end of a charge takes D6 mortal wounds on a 2+. That is madness. Just like his impact hits could like dumpster a whole bunch of characters. Death Grip, you can roll hit rolls of 1 for the Death Grip attacks to target a monster because he grabs its neck and just chokes it out. Gear Off Me Land. In your hero phase, you have any models with this ability within 1 inch of an objective marker that you control. You can pick one of these models and say that it will kick the objective away. If you do so, you can move that objective up to 2d6 inches to a new position in the battlefield, more than 1 from any models. Train features or other objectives. Any objective cannot be kicked more than once in the same phase. So you can't like soccer ball it around or football it around. Longshanks, when this model makes a normal move, it can ignore models that have a wound characteristic of 10 or less and train features that are less than 4 inches tall. At their highest point, it cannot finish the move on top of another model within 3 of an enemy model. So it just gets the 40k Knights ability to walk over stuff. Sons of Behemat, if a spell or ability would slay this model completely, it takes d6 mortal wounds instead. So like the Blade of Realities on a Chaos General or whatever. Stuff him in me net. If after this model piles in, you can pick D3 models within 3 inches of this model and roll a dice for each of them. If the roll is at least double their wound characteristic, it's slain. So you can stick stuff in your net. Terror, -1 bravery if you're within 3 of this unit. Timber, if this model is slain before removing the model from the battlefield, the players roll off. The winner must pick a point in the battlefield 5 inches from this model, and every unit within 3 of that point suffers D3 mortal wounds unless it's not Mega-Gargant. This model is then removed from the battlefield. So you can fall down on the little giants and like crush them, and you can fall down on enemy troops and stuff as well. And so then we have the Warstopper. This is the one that Chaos can take. He has pretty similar stats, like his core stats are going to be the same. His Death Grip is basically the same. His jump up and down is pretty different from Almighty Stomp because it's the one that knocks people over. He's got 3-inch range on it, 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2d3 damage. His Titanic Boulder Club, now this is the one that attacks based on the number of people nearby, and you get a bonus based on your health. So if it's number of models within, I think, 3, +4 when he's healthy, to a maximum of 10 and a minimum of 1. And then that goes down as he gets wounded to 0 bonus when he gets to 31, but it's still a minimum of 1 attack. And it's 3s and 3s, -2 damage. Almighty Jump, he can do the same thing, so it's reroll hit rolls of 1 unless you're a monster. Crushing Charge, same as the Kraken Eaters. Death Grip, same thing. Hurled Body, once per combat phase, you can pick an enemy model within 3 and roll a die, add the Hurled Body modifier, so +2, +1, and -1, -2. If the roll is at least double that of the model's wound characteristic, it's slain. You can roll another die on a 4+, pick an enemy within 12 inches invisible. It suffers a number of mortal wounds equal to the wound characteristic of the slain model. So you can hum somebody at somebody else, and you're +2 initially. So like you could pick up like a 4 wound cavalry guy, and then chuck him on a 4+ another unit and do 4 mortal wounds. Longshanks, same as everybody else's, standing over stuff. Sons of Behemat, same as this one. The things that would kill you just do d6 mortal wounds. Terror's the same, Timber's the same, and then Titanic Boulder Club. Attack characteristic is equal to number of enemy models within 3. A monster counts as 4 models, and then plus the bonus up here. Move is slower than the Kraken Eater, so 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And that's it. And then the Gatebreaker. Same core stats, he gets hurled boulders, and they're pretty much the same as everybody else's. 18-inch range goes down to 6 at the end. 1 attack, 3+, 2+, -3, 4 damage though. So his hurled boulder is actually a lot more dangerous than the hurled rocks because it's got like a consistent damage. Almighty Stomp is pretty much the same as the Whale Eaters, and then Death Grip is the same as well. Fort Crusher Flail, it's got like bracketed attacks. So it does 10 at the beginning, 5 when he's like totally bracketed down. And it has got the Smash Down ability, which is add 1 to the damage inflicted by a successful attack made by this model if it targets a unit wholly on a train feature or in a garrison. So his 4 Crusher Flail with 10 attacks goes to damage 4. 4s and 3s, -3, 4 damage against something that's on a train feature or in a garrison. So like if you're Karaduan Overlords and you're hiding in your airship and he walks over and attacks your unit inside, he could do like 40 damage against you and just like dumpster the unit that's inside the plane. In addition, at the end of the combat phase, you can pick a train feature within 3 of this model and roll a die, and if the roll is equally greater than the smashdown value, so when he's healthy 2+, it's replaced by deadly scenery rubble. So I walk over to Owen's Loon Shrine and just go, no Loon Shrine on a 2+, and it's gone. And all of his like bringing units back abilities are gone because all its keywords are changed, and it's basically just trashed. So I can keep the goblins from coming back forever, and that's why I'm building this Gargant. But you could also do it to other people's stuff, like you do it to the Maw Pot, you can do it to the Forge for the Fire Slayers, you can do it to anybody's like train piece. And I think everything else is pretty much the same. He has Almighty Stomp, Crushing Charge, Death Grip, Longshanks, Terror, Sons of Behemat, and then Timber, like everybody else. Smashdown's like his only unique ability. But he's the fastest of them too. He's got a 12-inch move down, an 8-inch move when he's not healthy. And then it's Man Crusher Gargants. These are your battle line, pretty much, and they can be taken in units of 1 to 3. They move 8, 12 wounds, 5+ save, bravery 7. A bit more consistent than the Ale Guzzlers. Ed-Butts, 1 attack, 4s and 3s, -3, and starts at damage 4, goes down to 1 when he's taking 10 wounds. And then his Massive Club has 10 attacks when he's healthy, before he takes 2 wounds. 3s and 3s, -1, 1 damage. But remember, if he's in this tribe, he could be 2 damage if you're on train. And then his Stomp and Charge, which is the same as this one pretty much. Pick a unit within 1 inch and roll a die. If the roll is equal to or greater than the Stomping Charge value, take D3 mortal wounds. If the unit has more than 1 model, do not allocate the mortal wounds until all models this unit have made their charge move. So you have to finish everyone charging. And then it's a 2+ in the beginning to a 6+ when he's taking 10 wounds. Stuff him in a bag is the same, but it's not 3 models, it's just 1. And then Timber is the same as the other Gargants. It's within 3 inches of his like point of death, and then each unit within 2 inches takes D3 mortal wounds, and then removed from play when he falls down. He's got the Keep Up rule, which is kind of neat. If this unit's within 12 of a friendly Mega-Gargant and sort of the charge phase, it can attempt to charge in that phase, even if it ran in the same turn. So you can run and charge with these guys. And that's pretty much it. And then pitch battle profiles, let's take a look. So, Man Crushers, units of 1 to 3, 180 or 480. So you get discounted to, what's that, 360, 460, 540. You get a 60-point discount if you take 3 of them. And they're Behemoth, but in a Sons of Behemat army, battlefield roll is battle line, not Behemoth, and the maximum size units count as 3 battle line units. So if you take a 3-man unit, that's all the battle line you need to make the army. And then it's 490, 490, 480 for the Gatebreaker, Kraken Eater, and Warstopper. So the Warstopper is the cheapest, ironically, and probably the best leader. They get no allies, so that's all you're getting if you take this stuff. And yeah, and that's it. So there you go. So you can just go 1 of each. And what I'll probably end up doing is 3 Man Crushers and then 1 of each other type, so I can literally try all the different war tribes. And that's literally and of course they did this on purpose, that's a 1940 army, so you can buy a CP. So you get a free CP, and you're down 1990, so you might even get a Triumph if someone's playing exactly 2000, because it's 480 plus 490 plus 490 plus 480. So you're looking at 160 plus 180 is 340 plus another 1600, so 1940 right there. Well designed. I like that. I like that you get the CP and potentially the Triumph too when you make the 2000 point army if you just play it with 1 of each box. And that's it, the Sons of Behemat Destruction Battletome. So, like Imperial Knights and AOS is what we're looking at here, basically. And they have really cool new models. It repurposes a classic, which is the Warhammer Giants, into the new age, and gives everybody something to play with. So I really like this as a supplement. It's cool to see them take a monster, give it to everybody potentially in like a fairly limited way, but in the way that like if your army doesn't have a behemoth, like I can literally play my Death Army at 2,000 points now because I'm going to paint this guy to add to it, and have like a 2,000 point fun game with my Night Hounds to try it, which you'll probably see coming up maybe next week. Because it's going to take me a bit more to get this guy painted than just to like throw some paint on a Space Marine. And I want to do him justice as well. And yeah, and I like that. I like that kind of release where anybody who's excited about it could try it out, and it looks like it's going to be fun and interesting. They've done enough work to make the army, I think, function in a game of AOS by having them score as extra models. And because of the way that AOS works, where you don't have a toughness value like with Knights in 40k, this isn't going to feel, it's a lot of wounds, but it's not going to feel oppressive because you don't have guns just like pattering off of them. Like you're still doing a ton of damage to this model as it's fighting. and its abilities are going to degrade. Whereas a knight, you can have whole units that just can't do anything to it. You know what I mean? Because it's toughness 8 and they have bolters or whatever, and it just walks through them, and you're like, ugh, fun. Like AOS is designed to kind of, no matter how big you are as a model or how tough you are, that negative gameplay experience of feeling helpless, like even goblins are going to be doing damage to this guy. Everybody's going to potentially be doing damage to these models. It's only a 4+ save, so it's a huge like boatload of wounds, but you're not going to feel, I think, like oppressed by their toughness because that just doesn't exist in this game. And so I'm stoked to give them a try. I will probably eventually do the army. Obviously the army's not out yet. I've got one, which you can see on the paint table today. Mega-Gargant that I was lucky enough to be set by Games Workshop to check out. I'm going to build him as the Gate Crasher because that way I can use him in my Destruction Army, my Death Army, and play some games with them as an ally and see how that goes. And you guys can see him on the table relatively quickly. So look forward to seeing a Sons of Behemat army. Probably, maybe I'll treat myself for Christmas. And that'll be my Christmas present, is getting some Gargants and doing this whole Mega-Gargant thing. Because I do love a big guy army. It's just fun. It's fun to play with. It looks neat on the table. I don't think it's going to be particularly good, but it's going to be fun to play. And yeah, and big thanks for checking this out. So we'll see you for more GMG reviews in the future. Till now, MASH. Have a good day. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to support the channel, of course, like and subscribe and hit the little bell below to get notifications when I post future content. I do post stuff 7 days a week. If you want to support the channel further, you can, of course, buy a t-shirt through Spreadshirts, buy a measuring gauge or objective markers from Death Ray Designs, or, of course, most importantly, there is Patreon. Patreon is what makes all this possible, keeps the lights on, pays for the studio costs, pays for the equipment, model costs, and everything else, and most importantly, puts food in my kids' bellies and a roof over their heads. Big thanks to everyone, past, future, who supported me. I do this stuff because of you guys, and of course, I will continue doing it as long as I can.